Republic of Gamers, and welcome to ROG Pulse. Today we've got a special show for you here to show off our brand new Z590 motherboards to go with the Intel 11th generation motherboard or processors that we just saw revealed. We're also going to be giving one away at the end of the show, a Maximus Hero, if I'm not mistaken. So it's pretty exciting stuff, and we've got some beautiful stuff to talk about, awesome images to show off here with all the new motherboards, and pretty much all the details you'll need to know. So my name is Solid Jake. I'm joined here with Jeff Campman. Jeff, how you doing?
Hey Jake, I'm pumped.
What'd you think?
I'm super into anything to do with silicon, and there was plenty of new silicon to go around today during Intel's CES 2021 presentation.
We saw a lot of different series of CPUs, but obviously we're here to talk about the gaming side of things, the CPUs that are going to go in the Z590 motherboards. And we did hear a little bit about performance. What are your thoughts overall?
Yeah. So earlier, Intel said double digits IPC, or instructions per clock improvement, generation on generation. And they detailed that a little more today. They're claiming a 14% increase, which is massive. So yeah, I mean, single core performance is what matters for client computing. It defines how snappy your PC feels. If you're playing a game at high frame rates and you're CPU bound, the speed of a single core determines how high your frame rate can be.
Yep.
It's crucial. And so having a 14% gen-on-gen improvement over a platform that was already really good, Skylake, the Skylake platform or architecture, was already highly competitive. And so having a 14% improvement on top of that is it's really exciting.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of games don't utilize more than a few cores as it is, so it's all about that single core performance. So 14% is a sizable jump, I'd say. I'm really pumped to see what kind of benchmarks we'll see. Obviously, we're not there yet. We're not going to be able to get this in users' hands and see some real world testing, but that's the next step, I suppose.
That's to come.
Yeah. Well,
but, and we did see. And we didn't. That's not all we saw either. And it's two new laptop chips. There was a 4-core, 8-core, 10 nanometer laptop parts, which is really exciting. And they even showed a powered on version of the next gen CPU beyond 11th gen. So yeah, just really cool.
Surprised they showed that so early, but yeah, they're saying that the next generation will be later this year. But that means we do have obviously the 11th gen coming soon, and with that we're going to be taking our Z490 and bringing them to the Z590. What are the biggest changes, just kind of getting to the meat of what this show is? What are the biggest changes that we're seeing on these new motherboards?
So the CPU and the motherboard, they go together to form a platform. And we know that 11th gen core desktop CPUs are going to support PCI Express 4.0. There's going to be 16 lanes of PCI Express 4.0 connectivity to the main slot. And there's another 4 lanes for a PCI Express 4.0 SSD and an M.2 slot. So that's something we can design around on the motherboard. But Intel also increased the bandwidth of the interconnect between the processor and the Z590 chipset or platform controller hub itself, because Z590 supports all sorts of next gen connectivity standards like Thunderbolt 4, USB 3.2, Gen 2x2. There are M.2 slots that designers can create off that chipset. So there's potentially a lot of data being shuffled through that link, and doubling it over the previous generation provides more headroom for using all of those connected devices.
Very cool. So when we're talking about things like VRM cooling, are we going to be leveling up the design on that?
Yeah. So Yeah, so once you have those basic building blocks in place, PCI Express 4.0, a wider DMI bus as it's called, we start getting down to the nuts and bolts. I think if you're a motherboard enthusiast, PC DIY enthusiast, the first thing you think about when you're building an enthusiast gaming system is, how good is the VRM? Because that has or voltage regulator module, I should say, which is the circuitry that delivers power to your CPU. Because the VRM these days, when you have these high core count chips, when you're delivering that much power, you need to be able to do it in a sustained fashion, a smooth fashion. You need to be able to do it efficiently so the motherboard and the components on it don't heat up too much. And what heat it does produce, you need to effectively move away from the chips so that you ultimately don't thermally throttle the processor from the power circuitry. And so this is an area of constant refinement. In this generation, we're not just improving the topology of the VRMs themselves. We're going up to an 18+2 phase design on the Maximus 13 Extreme and Extreme Glacial, which is, that's impressive enough in itself. But we're also going to be updating the cooling design of the heat sinks that go on top of that circuitry. So with the ROG Maximus 13 and ROG Strix series, we already cool those parts with discrete heat sinks that are built on top of a heat pipe, which is a sort of tiny vapor chamber. And so that sits atop of the VRMs, moves heat away from them and into the heat sink above. But because this is a passive system, like how much metal you have and how much surface area you have in that heat sink matters a lot. And so, our VRM heatsink designs are already really great. I have, a prior generation motherboard sitting off to my left here. It works great even under sustained loads with the highest end Intel Core processors. But for this generation, we wanted to go even further. And so we looked at where can we put more metal? And the answer actually arrived with the I/O shroud. A lot of modern motherboards have a shroud over like the I/O port blocks.
Right.
And in the past, it's been a polymer material. It's just a cover. But we said, okay, let's use this space. And so on the Maximus 13 series, on the ROG Strix series, on the Tough Gaming series motherboards, that cover is now alloy, and it's integrated into the overall VRM cooling solution. So you get more metal, more surface area, more ways for heat to get away from those components so that you get reliable, sustained performance.
That makes perfect sense. And it also looks really cool. I love the way these boards look. And don't worry, guys, we'll be showing them off very soon.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. But with the Maximus 13 Extreme, we asked ourselves, can we go even further? And so the Maximus 13 Extreme Glacial is a motherboard with an integrated EK water block for the processor, for the VRMs, for the chipset. And so you plumb this into your liquid cooling loop, and it's like putting the VRM on ice. So you can overclock to your heart's content. You don't have to worry about processor temperatures being a bottleneck. It's really, really cool. And it's got a massive M.2 storage heatsink as well.
So we have this up on stream right now so everyone can see this device in all its glory. The Maximus 13 Glacial, Extreme Glacial.
Extreme Glacial.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen a motherboard that is this clean. It's just so perfect. Now, what is it going to take to run this bad boy? You're talking about the cooling block here.
Yeah, so this is a solution that's designed for custom PC builders. It assumes that you are going to create a custom liquid cooling loop. And so you do need a pump and radiator solution elsewhere in your case to take advantage of this. But for modders, extreme overclockers, just people who want to push the limits of what a mainstream gaming PC can be, like this is the foundation for their vision.
This is my vision. Oh, yeah. Goodness. I don't get sick of looking at this. I've been looking at it all weekend and just like, I can't wait to show this to the world.
Yeah,
It is a
yeah.
beauty.
But yeah, that same underlying circuit board also underpins the Maximus 12 or 13 Extreme, sorry, which is designed for standalone use. And so that board has that massive alloy heatsink integrated into the VRM cooling system. It's got you can see on both the Glacial and the plain Extreme the Live Dash OLED for displaying custom text and graphics. They're packed to the gills with connectivity. These boards are just, they pull out all the stops. But yeah, our thinking about cooling didn't stop there, didn't stop at the VRM, because that's not the only component that can limit your PC's performance. With the speed of PCI Express 4.0 SSDs and the amount of processing and data movement that happens, you're generating significant heat from a tiny space there as well. If you've ever held an M.2 SSD, you know it's about the size of a stick of gum.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Yeah, and so we also want to ensure that those don't throttle into your system. And so we developed a new M.2 cooling architecture for the Z590 generation that doesn't just put a heat sink on the outer face of the SSD. There's now a heat sink under the SSD as well. So it's sandwiched by a cooling system. And so that, again, more routes for heat to leave the device.
Yeah.
And, reduce the potential for thermal throttling, and just make sure that you always are enjoying maximum performance from your components.
Very cool. You guys have been seeing the Maximus Extreme. We also have the Maximus Hero, the Maximus 13 Hero, as the third one here in this line.
And so yeah, we're always thinking about ways to refine our cooling, improve the cooling, and just make that possible for overclockers and enthusiasts to take advantage of. But that, because again, it's ultimately all about speed. You're building a next generation system, you want everything to be as speedy as possible. And that actually it extends to the Wi-Fi adapters that are now included by default in the Maximus 13 series.
For Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 6E?
Well, actually Wi-Fi 6E. In the past, we had versions of the Maximus 12 Hero that it had a Wi-Fi adapter and didn't have a Wi-Fi adapter. That distinction no longer applies. You are always getting Wi-Fi 6E. And for those unfamiliar, Wi-Fi 6E takes advantage of the recently allocated 6 gigahertz portion of the frequency spectrum that's available, at least in the United States for now, for Wi-Fi devices. And it unlocks a huge new chunk of bandwidth that is pristine, essentially, for PCs and other compatible devices to take advantage of. And because only Wi-Fi 6E or only Wi-Fi 6 devices can connect in the 6 gigahertz band, you're getting all the speed increasing, latency reducing benefits of Wi-Fi 6 by default if you take advantage of a Wi-Fi 6E connection.
We're at that next generation of Wi-Fi now. Yeah, it's great.
And Wi-Fi 6E is going to be, I think, if you are like me and you do all your work over Wi-Fi, and Jake's cringing internally at this, but
I just wired my house with Ethernet, so it's fine. It's fine.
But it's fine. But yeah, if you're like me and you do all your work over wireless, we're not just putting this technology in the boards for future proofing. We're building a whole ecosystem around Wi-Fi 6E. We announced a bit ago the ROG Rapture GT-AXE 11000 router, which was the world's first Wi-Fi 6E gaming router. And so we're fully ready to go. Once Wi-Fi 6E is certified, you'll be able to take your ASUS motherboard and the ROG Rapture GT-AXE 11000, and you'll be ready to go. So yeah.
Very cool. Some other things that we need to talk about though is like we're talking about some of the really top end, really powerful hardware. But you
Hmm.
know, as time goes on, we have to be improving the software as well, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and so right, it's not just a modern PC is obviously not just about the hardware. Um, there's software touches every element of your system, and it significantly influences like your day-to-day life with your PC. Like if your motherboard has subpar fan control, your system's going to be really noisy. Or you can't overclock reliably because the firmware interface is difficult to use or the settings are hard to understand. Um, but we've been working for a while on a number of AI-powered technologies to make your life as an enthusiast easier. And prime among those is AI overclocking, I think.
Yep.
And the process behind this is really cool. So everybody who's overclocked knows this whole process of iteration that you basically go through. You raise clock speeds a little bit, test for stability, see if it's stable. Yeah, if it's not stable, you raise your voltage a little bit, so on and so forth, until you can't go any further. And that
It's time
process,
consuming. It is.
yeah,
It really is.
that process takes hours. And AI overclocking, to make this work, we actually take a huge number of CPUs at our headquarters. We drop them in motherboards. We characterize them. We'd see how these chips behave, and we use that to build um, a database that we can then use to say, okay, the end user's chip is like this. And we're betting that we can get a stable overclock out of it with these settings. Um, and we're also going to look at the potential of your CPU cooler. We're going to look at data like ambient temperatures. Um, and it really, all that sounds really complicated, but enabling AI overclocking, one click. And
The dream.
I've experienced this myself. I was actually startled by how easy it was when I first did it. It's like you just enable the setting, and you have an overclock that's basically as good as what you could do manually.
Wow.
And so yeah, and we know already that AI overclocking is going to provide uh, impacts on single and multi-core performance for 11th gen CPUs. Can't talk about the magnitude yet, but we
Well,
know it's
yeah,
going to
yeah,
help.
but
So yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
But again, if you're already building an enthusiast system with like solid cooling and all that fun stuff, there's no reason not to enable this. It's really, really simple. It takes no time at all. It provides a meaningful performance difference. So yeah, that's exclusive to ASUS motherboards, and it's certainly one of the coolest things about our Intel platforms.
So AI is
Uh,
becoming a more and more common way of us
mhm,
tackling problems, right? We develop
mhm,
artificial intelligence to help identify the best possible performance with
mhm.
overclocking. But I know we've been doing two-way AI noise cancellation. That's
Yeah.
become a very big thing with a lot of our systems, our motherboards, our laptops. Let's talk
Mhm.
about that. Let's talk about two-way AI
Yeah.
noise cancellation.
So we've all been spending a lot of time at home.
Yeah, too much, but yes.
Yeah, and things can get noisy. We have people in families, and they're all doing things, and we have pets. I know my cats love to yowl at the door, and it's not the greatest thing during meetings or on in game to have to deal with that background noise when you're trying to hear your teammates or like
Yeah,
issue a command.
you're just jamming some
Yeah,
games with your squad, and your friend's dog just won't shut up. Guess what? Two-way AI noise cancellation lets you
yeah,
mute that doggo.
yeah. So two-way AI noise cancellation it's a software feature available through Armory Crate, and it's again, like you said, the reason it's two-way, it doesn't just help with your mic. It can take the input from you know everybody else's transmissions and filter it out there too. So
So cool.
yeah, and the our solution is CPU powered. It doesn't take any GPU resources, and it only occupies a small amount of CPU time to do its thing. So you're not affecting in-game performance, and yeah, it's really effective. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really nice. You said you get it both ways. It's non-existent in terms of its usage, like you said. So really cool.
mhm, mhm.
What else we got? What else we got in the software side?
Yeah, so we have two more AI powered features. One of my favorites is AI cooling, because I'm really particular about fan noise and
Like really
annoy.
particular.
Yeah, Jake knows this. Yeah, I cannot tolerate a noisy system. It just drives me insane. Um, so in the past, to tune like fan speeds, you would have to go in, and we make this easy already because you can characterize the lower and upper ends of your fan speeds automatically with our software. But you have to go in and adjust motherboard fan curves, and again, it takes time, right? And time we could be spending gaming or any of it, a number of other things. What AI cooling does, though, is um, on the fan headers, it's watching and saying, okay, I know what my component temperatures are.
Mhm.
And I know that this fan is running this fast and can run within this range. And so if it sees an opportunity to gradually decrease the fan speed to lower noise levels while not affecting component temperatures that much, it can go ahead and do that automatically. So, if your system is under load and, there's just, extra fan RPMs that don't need to be applied, it'll dial it back and lower your system noise. And again, you just enable it. You don't have to think about it.
This is all the technology for me, man. I'm so
Um,
I mean, I love overclocking. It's fun, but when
yeah.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
swapping from machine to machine a lot more than some people, just trying to get
Hmm.
that perfect overclock, I don't have time for this. I need
Yeah.
that AI cooling and overclocking.
Yeah. And we have one more AI feature as well, AI networking. Um, we're all familiar with quality of service controls as gamers. Like
Yeah.
the worst thing in the world is to have someone else on your network downloading a huge movie or,
Their
you know,
cloud service starts to sync. This has happened to me while
yeah,
streaming. My wife's cloud will start to sync and then I'm dropping frames and it's the
yeah,
worst. So QoS
yeah,
will save me in
right,
that instance. But
right, yeah. So on your PC though, like if you inadvertently have like a background download start or something,
right.
that can kill your network bandwidth.
Yeah.
Um, there's just, it's like you said, cloud syncing could kill your network bandwidth,
Yep.
and you don't want that to happen. So like AI networking, you turn this feature on, it watches all your network traffic, compares it against a database of application and traffic patterns. It says, okay, this gaming related traffic needs more bandwidth and it needs higher priority in the networking stack. But maybe this download or this YouTube video can be throttled back without any negative effects. And
Cool.
so, yeah,
I'm actually really curious to investigate the extent of this functionality because I'm not sure how much you know about it. I know nothing about this AI networking, but if this is something I can enable when I'm streaming that will always protect my ingest of the stream, that's like a mega win for as a content
yeah,
creator. So
yeah.
cool stuff.
Well, yeah. So those are the four main AI features of our motherboards.
Very cool.
Um, and if you're looking to get all of them, you really want to look at the ROG Maximus 13 series or ROG Strix series.
Okay, that's perfect
Yeah.
segue because I've been going between the three different Maximus series motherboards. You guys have seen those, but we
Hmm.
do have some other motherboards to talk about and show off here. And we will
Hmm.
transition to the Strix-E. This is the ROG Strix-E. It's a new motherboard.
Hmm.
Jeff, what are the big differences with the Strix versus the Maximus?
So our ROG Maximus 13 series is no holds barred, just for the most demanding users out there who won't accept any compromises. Um, they want the most lighting, they want the lowest temperatures, they want the highest performance.
Hmm.
Um, the ROG Strix series takes that same style, and you know, still, these are still high-end motherboards. Make no mistake,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's more accessible. Yeah. Um, like some of the features of the ROG Maximus 13 series, like integrated Thunderbolt 4 on the back panel. These have a header instead, but we're still looking at a really all-around high-end board.
Gorgeous too. I love the
And
aesthetic.
yeah.
It's
hmm So yeah, it's about that ROG style, and getting that in your system, and still maintaining those high end features, but just for a more mainstream friendly audience.
okay. Just to get the plug in there and put it on the screen, this is the one we're giving away at the end of the stream. We're giving away a Maximus 13 Hero. You can see that one here, guys, and you'll just have to wait and see how to win, but we'll get there soon.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Hero this generation is gorgeous.
Oh man, it
It's
really
got
is.
all those cooling improvements. It's got all that RGB LED lighting shining up through the new heatsink system on the VRM. It's just
One thing I
just
really
stare
I
at it
really
forever.
like is that the M.2 goes behind that shroud. You have that,
Mhm.
it's just tucked in there nicely. I've had other motherboards where you just kind of see the M.2, laying flat on your motherboard. It doesn't really look like it belongs. It's just kind of plugged
Mhm.
in. Especially
Yeah,
with the way that the M.2s tend to look. It just kind of looks like a tiny stick of RAM to me, at least.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's not aesthetically pleasing usually.
no, I don't think so. So I like
So,
the way that's tucked away nicely
so yeah,
here.
if you get a feature like the M.2 heatsink that combines form and function, that's a win.
Yeah.
So
Okay. We can take a look at the Tough Z590.
yeah, so the Tough Gaming Z590 Plus. This board is focused. We were talking about solid hardware earlier,
Yeah.
and that's what the Tough Gaming family is about. Is really solid hardware that won't let you down.
I
Um,
I love this. I just got to say I love this new almost like a rebrand of Tough. We've got a new logo for the
mhm,
Tough line.
We do.
We've changed the aesthetic for the Tough line a bit.
Mhm.
It looks military to
Yeah,
me. It looks like a
I think this is actually one of our first motherboards with the new ID,
I think yeah, it's the first
and
one I've seen
it's
personally, so
yeah. But again, just and again, the thing I didn't say, it's really solid hardware at a really attainable price.
mhm.
But you're not giving up any of the essentials here. Like this board still has our improved VRM design with that massive alloy high surface area heatsink running over the top of the I/O. It's got a big multi-phase VRM, two M.2 slots, PCI Express 4.0 support. You know, just it wants for the hardware wants for nothing. So yeah,
I just
solid value, solid hardware.
I'm just laughing at comments in chat that RGB makes a PC run faster. It's actually scientific, so just so you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
internal testing has shown it's good for a good 10 FPS here and there.
I do like the subtle aesthetics or the subtle RGB we have here on the top board. It looks cool.
Yep.
All right, we've got one more. It's the Prime-A of the Z590. I actually love this look too.
Yeah, the Prime series, the way I like to think about it is, these are purposeful motherboards for purposeful builds. And the Prime Z590-A carries that tradition forward. It fuses that sort of purpose, that sense of purpose, with this enthusiast-friendly feature set. You still have a BP VRM with this. You get AI overclocking, AI cooling, and two-way AI noise cancellation. So it's got some enthusiast-friendly features there, gaming-friendly features. But it also fits well if you're doing like a white build. Just I think that hashtag clean look.
Yeah. No, it definitely fits
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Even the back
And
of it.
yeah. And there will be other whiteboards in the series. We have the ROG Strix-E Z590-A, which we are keeping under wraps for now. But yeah,
Ooh.
if you want that white aesthetic, this Prime board is an excellent foundation for that. And it's like I said, it's a great all-rounder board.
Yeah, very cool. A lot of options to choose from. I think we have to go back and go to the Glacial just because this is the king of the show. This is the star of the show for this new line.
Yeah.
This is the hyper enthusiast motherboard, but one can dream, right? I look at this and I say, okay, that's a goal. That's a goal for me personally. That bad boy right there. I need it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
it's so cool.
It's definitely the kind of thing you look at and you say, I want to build a system around this.
Yeah.
Not just any system, like polished metal mandrel bent tubing.
Right.
Fully custom water blocks. Get one of our ASUS EK GeForce RTX series graphics cards, put it in there. It's again, no holds barred, no compromises, just pure performance.
I mean, that's your own spaceship at home. It's just perfect. Really cool stuff. Jeff, any final thoughts on these motherboards and the new leveling up we've done here?
I'm just really excited about these. It's a thoroughly next generation platform, no matter where you look. Next generation Wi-Fi, PCI Express 4.0, comprehensive cooling, Thunderbolt 4. This is the kind of system, or this is the kind of platform that it wants for nothing. So I'm really excited to start, to get my hands on an 11th generation core processor and drop it in one of these and see what all it enables.
Yeah, before too long, we'll have that opportunity to finally see what the 11th gen Intel is all about, push it to the limits, get it in the hands of many reviewers, and of course, just everyone else to see what it's all made of. And of course, these motherboards will be launching soon to go with that Intel 11th gen.
I think while we're doing that, there were a couple questions from chat that we can talk about.
Oh, sure.
I think there were some questions about whether the Maximus 12 formula will support PCIe 4.0 with 11th gen CPUs. The answer is yes, with a BIOS update. Keep an eye out for that. Check out our article on edgeup.asus.com to learn more about what's going on with 11th gen and Z490. But there will be a BIOS update.
Perfect.
And there's also a cooling ecosystem feature called Intel Cryo. Someone asks which Z590 boards will support that, and the Maximus 13 Extreme will support Intel Cryo.
Perfect.
The chat asks, are we able to talk about what controllers will be on the boards with 10G and 2.5G LAN ports, respectively? So the 10G ports will be powered by a Marvell adapter. The 2.5G ports will be powered by Intel. Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for our stream. I hope you guys enjoyed our discussion about these new motherboards. We do a lot of different shows on various topics. We will be revisiting these motherboards in the future, especially until 11th gen, when we have more information and more hands-on to talk about. We'll be revisiting that in the future.
Jake, everybody keep an eye on edgeup.asus.com. We'll be publishing a detailed motherboard guide for Z590 in the near future with detailed spec breakdowns and a look at all of the models that we'll be releasing. So keep an eye out for that soon.
Yep, definitely that. And I guess the big thing to promote is, guys, this is CES week, right? This is like, so yes, there's that article. There's going to be many other articles, and we have more streams coming tomorrow. So while tomorrow we're announcing many new things. Well, we gotta be. It's CES. And I guess we'll stop there.
Keep an eye on if you're not following us on social media, go ahead and check out the ASUS ROG North America and ROG Global accounts. We have all the details for the live streams there that will be happening tomorrow, and the general ASUS social accounts, ASUS North America and ASUS Global. If you're not following those already, we'll be having a live stream Wednesday to announce more ASUS products.
A lot of stuff.
So very exciting week. Lots more to come.
And with that, we'll leave you till next time, friends. Thank you all for tuning in. GG's. We'll see you next time.